Well, a very good evening to you and welcome to Freedom TV. We're discussing tonight the perfect pastor. Not because they've found the perfect pastor here necessarily, but that's our discussion. But it was started off by something that was seen on Facebook, wasn't it? So I think you're going to read what was put on Facebook about the pastor. So over to you.
Well, these are the statistics. 97% of pastors have been betrayed falsely, accused or hurt by their trusted friends. 70% of pastors battle with depression. 7,000 churches close each year. 1,500 pastors quit. 10% will retire early. 80% of pastors feel discouraged. 94% of families of the pastors feel strained because of the ministry. 78% of pastors have no close friends. 90% of pastors report working 55 to 75 hours per week. Why would anyone want to be a pastor?
Yeah, well, we saw this put on Facebook, didn't we? So we thought we'd have a bit of discussion about the perfect pastor. Because, of course, you know, you're basically looking at him if you're watching this video, you know. So
it's not me, thank God.
There's no such thing as a perfect pastor. But people forget that, don't they? I think people think that the pastor's always perfect, the pastor never makes a mistake, the pastor never goes wrong, and, you know, the pastor's perfect, and it's not true, is it? And I think,
it's not,
you know,
true at all.
It's kind of an unfair expectation to have your pastor, you know, with the belief that it'll always be perfection when we're not perfect. So
true. There's two dangers. There is, yes, when the church elevates their pastor on a pedestal. All right, the scriptures do tell us, give them double the honor even for their work's sake. But to keep it all in perfect balance, there is a danger of elevating them to the degree that they become giddy and fall.
yeah,
And they prove that they are not perfect because they're human, just like any other member of the congregation. The other danger is when they come to a particular fellowship and they say, "What a lovely pastor," until he makes a mistake. He's not going to get everything right. And then
crucify him.
Yeah, exactly. And then the knives start coming out. Then it's roast pasta for Sunday lunch. It is.
That's too good.
All of a sudden, they start spreading gossip. They start spreading slander.
Oh dear.
And it's the last thing that the pastor would expect from that person. That had been speaking so highly of them, but they've elevated them in their own opinion to such a degree when he's slightly wrong, and he only got to go slightly wrong, then the knives come out.
I've been in the ministry, I've been pastoring now for several decades. I won't say how many decades, because time goes very quickly. But I've always taught the people, and I've been here the longest in terms of pastoring, but I've always taught people to make Jesus your hero, not your pastor.
That's
as in,
right,
don't make
yes.
me your hero. Because, you know, I'm pretty awesome, obviously, and totally amazing. But, but you know, things can go wrong at any time. And, you know, but by the grace of God go I. Certainly that applies to me. And but if you make
Same
Jesus your hero rather than your pastor, but it's nice to like your pastor. It's a good thing to take your pastor out for dinner. It's a good thing to bless your pastor. It's a good thing to buy your pastor a new car. I think that, and to buy him a bigger house, and to give him lots of money and support and nice holidays. They're all good things, you know.
Yes.
Well, I think so. But,
They're all necessities, I think, for the pastor, because when you think, it is a heavy load. It is. I think, like the evangelist or the visiting speaker, he doesn't have to go back to the same place, to where the people all hated him. The pastor has got to get up in that same pulpit and watch old Stoneface look at him every week. Like a wicked old Gorgon.
It is more challenging when you're in one place. Certainly.
Yeah.
There's you know everybody, and they become part of you. You know, they really do. I mean, one of the things you read on there was that hit me about a pastor not having many or any close friends and stuff. Yeah. And all my friends, are in this church, which is sad because no one likes me.
You weather him well. Don't worry, Rob. You weather him well.
Yeah. And people, I've been hurt before, but I kind of, at the end of the day, it doesn't hit me, generally speaking, like it would hit my wife, for example. People try to hurt me and they'll hurt her rather than hurt me.
Yes.
I suppose they think they can get to me that way, and they can. That's when I become angry and justifiably so, I think. But
yes.
You've got to have a bit of a thick skin to do the pastoring thing, without a doubt, because everyone wants you to please them, and you can't please everybody.
You can't.
That's I used to have hair on my head, years ago, and it offended all those at the time that were bald. And now I don't have so much hair on my head now, and it offends all those that got a full head of hair. So what I'm saying is, you can't win. And follically challenge it. But it's the Apostle Paul said about being all things to all people. So I'm having a go, so I'm trying. So, but it's not easy. Let's face it, it's not easy. But anyway, don't let us put you off. If you want to be a pastor, it could be a good living. I've never experienced that, but I'm here. It could be a good living. We've lived in caravans, and we've lived in churches' houses. I've been blackmailed before and held over the coals, but don't let me discourage you. It's it can be a great thing to be a pastor, but I think the thing is, I'm a pastor for one reason and one reason only. God called me to be a pastor, and I think that's the truth of the matter. I couldn't do it otherwise, because it's not easy, and it affects your entire family and can cause arguments at home, and cause problems with your kids and all sorts of things, and all eyes are on you, just kind of like you said, just waiting for you to mess up, waiting for you to go wrong, waiting so that all the lovely religious people can come and stone you.
Yes.
But you got to get above that. Ultimately, it's about hearts, it's about people, and the role of the pastor, according to Scripture and not our opinion, is that it's a pastor's job to build up the people in the way they should go. In other words, build them up so they can do their ministry.
That's right.
But we got a good group of people here. This is a great church, and I feel very blessed right now. But I'm not stupid enough to think that there'll never be another problem or there'll never be another trial. Or no.
Exactly.
As soon as people, people are people. And I was talking to somebody today, and we was talking about, what glasses are you wearing? Because when we're happy, we've got our happy glasses on, and we can look at any situation, and we the glass is half full. But if we've got our not so happy glasses on, and every situation is somewhat bleak, and we're looking at negativity, and the glass is half empty. So sometimes it's quite challenging. I remember many years ago, I was in a deacon's meeting, and this guy suddenly from nowhere, he launched at me, really launched at me, and tore strips off me for absolutely no reason. It was such a long while ago. It was decades ago now, but I couldn't work out where that came from or what that was about or why he would do such a thing. It played on my mind and so on. And it turned out that he'd been called up to school just before the meeting we had that night because his son was caught with drugs in the school. So I took the blunt of that as the pastor, and he ripped into me and tried to tear me apart. But actually, the real reason was what was going on in his home life. So I can't, I'm going to sit here and lie to you and say, oh, I've never been hurt. I've never been, I've been a pastor for several decades. I've got a T-shirt. I've been about. I'm not wet behind the ears, as they say.
No,
I'm not naive,
no.
but I'm still going, and that's by the grace of God. And it's when you're called and you're in that calling, then you're fulfilled. Has
That's
challenges and so on. But my advice would be to anybody who's that was thinking about being a pastor: if God's calling you to be a pastor, you can't be anything else.
Exactly.
But if God's not calling you to be a pastor, don't go anywhere near it. There you go. That's good
There we
advice.
are. That's right.
Paul, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so
My
much.
pleasure.
Great to see you again. God bless you.
God bless you.
Love the shirt. Not as good as mine, but you're learning.
Well, I'm company, Ted.
Good night and God bless.